God gave you the gift to become a guide for humanity. There are moments in life when we look around and feel out of place, when our thoughts seem too deep, our emotions too intense, and our vision too far ahead for the world to understand. From childhood, perhaps you question things others accepted without hesitation. You sensed truths in silence, read between the lines, and carried burdens in your soul that had no name. You weren't just curious, you were searching for something more. And maybe, just maybe, you felt like you didn't belong anywhere. But what if I told you that this feeling, this invisible distance between you and the world, was never a flaw? What if it was a divine signal, marking you as chosen, not above others, but for others? You see, when God intends to transform the course of humanity, He doesn't begin with crowds. He begins with one person, one soul, one heart awakened to something greater than itself. He doesn't choose the loudest or the most powerful. He chooses the sensitive ones, the seekers, the misfits, the deeply feeling individuals who carry both empathy and conviction in equal measure. If you're here today wondering why you see what others ignore, why your spirit breaks over injustice while others stay numb, it's because God placed a gift inside you. A gift that was never meant to be buried beneath fear, conformity, or doubt. A gift that is calling out, right now, to be remembered. But with great gifts come great burdens. You weren't given this vision so you could hide. You were given this awareness so you could lead. Not from a pedestal, not with fanfare or applause, but with courage, compassion, and quiet strength. The world is lost in many ways, not because there is no light, but because too many lights are dimmed by fear of standing alone. Yet, it only takes one illuminated soul to change the direction of a generation. If your life has felt like a storm, if you've been broken again and again by betrayal, disappointment, or rejection, it is not because you are weak. It is because God has been shaping you. The world will not follow someone who has never bled. To guide humanity, you must first walk through the fire, survive it, and come out with truth in your hands and love in your heart. You were not meant to fit in. You were meant to stand apart, not in arrogance, but in purpose. This is your wake-up call. This is your reminder. You were never random. You were marked by divinity from the very beginning. And now, more than ever, the world needs those who can see beyond the surface. The world needs your voice, your light, your leadership. So don't shrink. Don't silence your soul. You weren't created to blend into the background of history. You were gifted to guide it forward. The divine gift you never chose. Some of the most powerful gifts in this life are not the ones we seek or ask for. They are not earned through effort, nor are they the result of ambition or desire. They are placed within us by the hand of God before we even take our first breath. They arrive unannounced, invisible to the world, yet undeniable to the soul. They are gifts that don't sparkle on the outside, but burn quietly inside us, sometimes so intensely that we don't know whether to call them a blessing or a burden. And the greatest of these is the gift of vision, not the kind that sees with the eyes, but the kind that perceives with the spirit. You didn't choose to feel deeper than others. You didn't ask to notice the suffering in someone's voice when everyone else just heard words. You didn't plan to walk through life carrying the weight of questions that most people don't dare to ask. But you were given this path, chosen, not by accident, but with purpose. Because when God intends to elevate the world, He begins by awakening individuals. He doesn't send the thunder first. He whispers into the soul of someone who is quiet enough to hear. Someone like you. There's a reason why your heart broke in places others found unremarkable. There's a reason why your spirit never settled for surface-level answers. And there's a reason why you've always felt that something bigger was calling you, even if you couldn't explain it. That reason is not madness. It's not oversensitivity. It's not imagination running wild. It's the echo of divine intention stirring within you, reminding you that your presence here is not coincidental. You were born with a seed inside you, an awareness, a wisdom, a light that was meant to grow into something powerful enough to guide others through the dark. But here's the truth that many never speak aloud. Divine gifts rarely come in pretty packages. They often arrive disguised as pain, isolation, or confusion. And that's why so many people run from them. That's why some people never open them. Because when you're given a vision that others can't see, your early life won't feel like clarity. It will feel like chaos. It won't feel like empowerment. It will feel like rejection. The world isn't built to celebrate the different. It's built to normalize the familiar. And if you've ever felt like the odd one out, like your presence disrupted the status quo or your insight made people uncomfortable, that's not a sign that you're lost. It's proof that you've been set apart. Think about it. How many times have you held back your truth because you feared it would be too much? How many times have you dimmed your light just to make others feel comfortable in their darkness? How many times have you questioned your own gift because the world around you didn't know how to receive it? This is the painful irony of the chosen. They are born to give, to uplift, to lead. But first, they are misunderstood, rejected, and even silenced. Not because they lack value, but because their value threatens everything built on shallow ground. And yet, the gift remains. No matter how much you've doubted it, no matter how far you've run from it, no matter how long you've tried to fit in or play small, that inner light, that sacred knowing, that divine fire, it never leaves. It waits patiently, like a seed beneath winter soil, knowing that one day, in the right season, it will bloom. The time will come when the very things that made you feel like an outsider will become the reasons others look to you for guidance. The same sensitivities that once brought you pain will become the source of your strength. The very voice you were once afraid to use will become a voice that leads. You didn't choose this gift, but it chose you. And it didn't choose you because you're perfect. It didn't choose you because you have all the answers. It chose you because your heart is open, your spirit is willing, and your soul remembers something sacred. You were born with a light that refuses to be extinguished. And that light was given not just for you to see, but so you could help others find their way. But here's what you must understand. A gift from God is not just something to cherish. It is something to steward. And stewardship begins with awareness. You must recognize what's been placed within you, not in arrogance, but in humility. You must begin to honor the ways in which you've always been different, not as defects, but as divine markers. And you must begin to ask yourself not, why me, but what now? Because you are not just here to survive. You are not just here to work, eat, sleep, and repeat. You are here to remember your gift, to refine it through trial and reflection, and then to release it into the world, not for applause, but for purpose. Not to be seen, but to be of service. And when you step into that alignment, when you stop running from your gift and begin to walk with it in full awareness, something shifts. You stop fearing the opinions of others. You stop chasing validation. And you start living from a place of divine responsibility. This is not about ego. This is about impact. This is about answering a call that was whispered to your soul long before the world handed you its expectations. This is about reclaiming the truth, that the gift you carry was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to guide. The burden of bearing light. It is a beautiful thing to be chosen. But let us not romanticize it. It is also a burden. To carry light in a world built around shadows is no easy task. To be given divine sight is not simply a gift. It is a responsibility that few truly understand. When God marks you to lead, He first teaches you how to endure. Because no one can guide others out of the darkness unless they have first survived it themselves. You see, we often admire the wisdom of leaders, the strength of warriors, the clarity of prophets, but we rarely speak about the agony behind that wisdom, the battles that forged that strength, or the loneliness that often haunts those with spiritual sight. If you've been given the gift to guide, you must also carry the weight of being misunderstood, judged, and rejected, not once, but many times. The world fears what it cannot control, and it resents what it does not comprehend. And so it pushes back against those who reflect a higher truth. That is the price of bearing the light. The burden doesn't always come from others. Sometimes it arises within you. When you begin to awaken, you will wrestle with doubt, with the feeling that maybe you're imagining things, maybe your intuition is wrong, maybe you're too sensitive, too strange, too intense. This is the internal battle every chosen one faces. Because when your insight pierces through illusions, you begin to see things that others are not ready to see. And it's not easy holding knowledge that the world does not yet understand. It's not easy warning people about storms they can't feel, guiding them toward paths they can't yet believe in, or loving them through their own resistance. And that is why your life may have felt like a constant trial. You were not cursed, you were being trained. You were not abandoned, you were being isolated for clarity. You were not broken, You are being shaped. God does not prepare leaders in comfort. He refines them in fire. Because the world needs more than inspiration, it needs integrity. It needs people who have walked through the valley of despair and come out with grace still in their hearts. It needs leaders who understand pain not just intellectually, but personally. This is why many who carry the light go through seasons of wilderness. Seasons where friends disappear, opportunities close, and silence becomes your only companion. It is during those seasons that your character is carved, your purpose is purified, and your ego is shattered. You learn to rely not on applause, not on validation, but on divine guidance. You learn to listen not just with your ears, but with your spirit. You come to realize that leadership isn't about being above others. It's about carrying them, even when they can't carry themselves. But this burden also brings a hidden strength. With every trial you survive, you gain a deeper understanding of humanity. With every heartbreak, your compassion grows. With every betrayal, your discernment sharpens. And with every step you take through darkness, your light becomes more defined, more undeniable, more unstoppable. That is how God builds his leaders, not by sparing them from pain, but by teaching them to transform it. Still, it's easy to become bitter, to feel like your kindness is wasted, like your sacrifices go unnoticed, like your voice doesn't matter. But let me remind you, you are not doing this for applause. You are not doing this to be seen. You are doing this because God entrusted you with something sacred. And sacred things are not always understood in the beginning. They often come with resistance. But stay faithful, because your burden is also your ministry. And someone, somewhere, is waiting for you to rise into the fullness of who you are. Let us also not forget that leadership does not mean perfection. You are still allowed to cry. You are still allowed to question. You are still allowed to ask for help. Strength is not the absence of struggle. It is the willingness to keep walking through it with your head held high. What makes you a guide is not that you never stumble, but that you rise each time with more wisdom, more clarity, and more love. Even Christ, the ultimate guide, was rejected, mocked, and crucified by the very people he came to save. So why would your path be easy when you carry even a fraction of that same light? The pain you endure is not pointless. It is sacred. It is what proves the depth of your calling. And the more intense the burden, the more powerful the light that follows. If you are in a season of breaking, don't give up. If you feel unseen, unheard, or unwanted, remember, your story is not over. You are still being written. And when the time comes, those who once doubted you will look to you for direction. Those who ignored your voice will crave its wisdom. And those who tried to bury you will realize they were only planting you deeper in the soil of divine purpose. So wear your burden not as shame, but as proof. Proof that God trusted you with fire. Proof that your soul was chosen for something greater. Proof that you carry what the world desperately needs: light, love, and truth. Because in the end, the burden of bearing light is not a punishment. It is a holy privilege. And when you learn to carry it with grace, you become what the world is longing for, not just a leader, but a guide, a healer, a beacon of divine hope in a broken time. When you begin to illuminate others, there comes a turning point in every journey, one that is quiet, subtle, and yet entirely life-altering. It is the moment when your suffering transforms into wisdom, when your silence becomes strength, when your pain is no longer something you hide, but something you use. That is the moment you begin to illuminate others, not because you try to, but because your very existence becomes a source of light. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to promote it. When your spirit aligns with the purpose God placed in you, your presence begins to shift the atmosphere. People start to feel something different around you. They may not understand it. They may not know why they feel seen, safe, or stirred when they're near you. But it's because you've become a vessel of clarity in a foggy world. This is when your true leadership begins, not from titles, degrees, or followers, but from authenticity, from the fire you've survived, from the humility you've cultivated, from the stillness you've learned to embrace. And you begin to realize, guiding others is not about controlling them. It's about reflecting back the light they've forgotten they carried. It's about awakening, not convincing, calling forth, not forcing. It's about seeing people not as they are, but as they are destined to become, and loving them forward into that truth. You don't need to preach. Your life preaches by itself. Your resilience speaks. Your peace speaks. Your discernment, your compassion, your unwavering presence, they all speak. And that's the difference between influence and illumination. Influence tries to shape people from the outside in. Illumination draws them out from within. When God uses you to illuminate others, He does so not through manipulation, but through alignment. You become a mirror, not a mold. But it takes courage to live this way. Because once you begin to shine, you will attract not only those searching for hope, but also those still clinging to darkness. Some will come to you for healing. Others will come to test your light, to mock it, or even to try to extinguish it. You must remember, their resistance is not your failure. It is simply proof that your light has impact. And impact always disturbs what is stagnant. So don't let rejection stop you. Don't let criticism make you retreat. When you illuminate others, you also illuminate what they've been hiding from. That is not your burden to carry. It is their invitation to awaken. There will also be moments when you'll want to shrink back, when the responsibility feels too heavy, when the silence of leadership feels too loud. But remember, you were not chosen because you're flawless. You were chosen because you're faithful. Because even when it hurt, you kept going. Even when no one believed in you, you believed in the call. Even when your own voice trembled, you chose to speak truth. And now, because of your obedience, others are starting to rise. You may not see it, but every kind word you've spoken, every tear you've shed, every prayer you've whispered into the night, it's making ripples in souls you've never met. That's how light works. It spreads quietly. It travels far. And it never asks for credit. You'll start to notice something else, too. People will come to you not just for advice, but for presence. They'll want to be near you when they're confused, when they're hurting, when they're lost. Not because you have all the answers, but because your energy carries something rare in this world, peace. And that peace isn't something you fabricated. It's something you cultivated through surrender, through fire, through faith. Your peace cost you, and that's why it's powerful. This is also where discernment becomes essential. Just because someone needs you doesn't mean they're ready for you. You must learn to recognize the difference between those who are open to growth and those who are only drawn to your light because they don't want to face their own shadows. Protect your energy. Preserve your clarity. You are not called to carry everyone, only to shine as God leads. And you will know when it's real. You will know when someone is truly being transformed by your presence. You'll feel it, not as flattery, but as alignment. You'll sense when a heart is opening, when a soul is softening, when someone is remembering their own divine essence because you had the courage to live in yours. That is the sacred exchange of light. That is the ripple effect of obedience. As you walk deeper into your calling, you'll notice that you no longer seek platforms. You seek purpose. You no longer chase recognition. You value resonance. And you no longer fear being different. You honor it. Because difference is what sets the guide apart. You are not here to echo the world. You are here to elevate it. The beauty of illuminating others is that you begin to heal yourself in the process. Every time you pour into someone from a place of love, something is poured back into you. Every time you speak life into another soul, God breathes life back into yours. You begin to see yourself as He sees you, not just as someone called, but as someone capable, not just as someone gifted, but as someone graced. This is your time. Your light is not a coincidence. Your journey was not in vain, and your voice is not too late. The world is hungry for real leaders, quiet leaders, humble leaders, awakened leaders. And that's what you've become. Not because you forced your way into influence, but because you surrendered to purpose. You are now the torchbearer, the one who walks ahead, not to boast, but to guide. And the path you light is not just for others. It is also the path that finally sets you free. Do not doubt the light within you. Even after everything, after all the signs, all the trials, all the moments of awakening, there is still one final enemy you must face: self-doubt. Not the doubt others cast upon you, not the voices of criticism or resistance from the outside world. No, the deepest, most dangerous kind of doubt is the one that whispers from within, the kind that makes you question your worth, the kind that tells you your light isn't strong enough, that your calling isn't real, that your purpose is too much for you to carry. That kind of doubt is subtle. It grows in silence. It feeds on your fear. And it is the last gate you must walk through before you truly step into the fullness of who you are. Let me say this to you clearly. Do not doubt the light within you. It was placed there by design. It is not a mistake. It is not a trick. It is not something you imagined on your worst or best days. It is the fingerprint of God on your soul. And no matter how long you've questioned it, no matter how many times you've tried to bury it beneath logic or insecurity or shame, it still remains. Still burning. Still waiting. Still holy. You don't have to feel ready to be ready. You don't have to have every answer to be effective. You don't have to be fearless to be faithful. What you need is belief, not in your perfection, but in your permission. You have been permitted to shine. You have been allowed to rise. The door is not locked. It never was. The chains were never on your soul. They were only on your perspective. This is the season to reclaim what was always yours. Your light, your voice, your identity. This is not the time to shrink. Not the time to hesitate. Not the time to wait for someone else to confirm what God has already made clear in your spirit. You've seen the signs. You've heard the call. You've endured the wilderness. You've wept in silence. And now, you stand at the threshold of impact. Don't let the doubt you've inherited from a broken world keep you from building the future you were born to create. You are not an accident. You are not too much. You are not unworthy. You are not unqualified. Everything about you, your story, your scars, your tears, your tenacity, has been divinely orchestrated to prepare you for this. Not next year. Not someday. Now. When you look in the mirror, I want you to see more than skin, more than flaws, more than imperfections. I want you to see fire. I want you to see legacy. I want you to see someone who was shaped by heaven to transform the earth. Someone who carries the antidote to confusion. Someone who speaks clarity in chaos. Someone who was called, not to conform, but to confront darkness with light. Will it be easy? No. Will people misunderstand you? Yes. Will you face more tests and trials? Without a doubt. But you will no longer face them as someone unsure. You will face them as someone awake. Someone who has remembered what the world tried to make them forget, that they are not here to merely survive. They are here to lead. You may never get a standing ovation. You may never be the loudest voice in the room. But when you walk in alignment with your divine purpose, you won't need applause to feel peace. You won't need recognition to feel fulfilled. You will carry something deeper, something unshakable. You will know who you are, and you will walk in that knowing with quiet authority and sacred power. If you've ever wondered why your life has been so intense, why your inner world is so vivid, why your spirit never fully fit into the systems and structures around you, it's because you were never meant to. You were made to bring something new. Something different, something heaven-born into a world full of noise and numbness. So I say to you now, stop doubting your light. Stop silencing your soul. Stop apologizing for the fire God placed in your chest. You are not here to entertain. You are not here to please. You are here to awaken, to liberate, to guide, to lead, and to love. You are here to walk boldly into the unknown with faith as your compass and truth as your banner. And when you do, when you finally stop asking for permission to be who you already are, something miraculous happens. People around you begin to awaken. They begin to heal. They begin to rise. Not because you fixed them, but because your light gave them permission to find their own. This is how change begins. Not with systems, not with institutions, but with one soul who refuses to doubt the light within. Let that soul be you.